guys. Okay, I'm Leah, in case any of you didn't know. And today, Miranda and I get a cool opportunity to just share with you guys about an experience that we had this summer, and that's kind of ongoing. We were able to attend Kaleo Academy at Barclay College in Hamlin, Kansas this summer. And if any of you guys don't know what that is, I know we came and talked about getting your support for that, but basically it's a Friends Youth training that is open nationally, but actually internationally we had kids from Bangladesh and Nepal come as well. And students and mentors, so Miranda's a student, I'm the mentor in this situation, apply to go to this program where they spend a week learning about theology, Christian leadership, just all sorts of really cool stuff. And they also talk about calling. And so in some ways it's similar to what the Northwest Yearly Meeting does with Samuel School, but this version is a lot more in-depth and intense because after the 1 week that we spend in Kansas, we have a 10-month journey that we're committed to participating in. So Miranda and I will continue to meet one-on-one, discerning her call, and she will have to continue to do classes online, and she also will have a release project, which is like a service project, that she's going to have to figure out, and part of my job is helping her figure out what that is. And so I think that's probably my favorite part about what Kaleo was, is that it teaches youth to discern their calling and to know what their gifting is, but not just to know it, to use it. And they challenge them to participate in their church body by using the gifts that God's given them. So I thought that was really cool, and we had just such a great time. And we're just really thankful that you guys supported us in getting there and allowing us to participate in that. So we still have a ways to go. We have maybe made it through one of the 10 months, I think, about. But it was just a really impactful week for us. And so Miranda came away wanting to share, and I told her this morning she is the only person who could convince me to come up here and talk for as long as I'm talking. So she's a lucky one. No, I'm kidding. And she's going to have a chance to share her story in a minute, but I wanted to just share with you guys part of the experience that I had the week that we were in Kansas. So going into it, I kind of just had this mentality. I was like, all right, God might talk to me, but I'm really here to be Miranda's mentor. I'm just here to help her figure things out. And as you know, usually God likes to be like, yeah, no, Leah, you have some things to learn. So I was kind of came away from the week learning a lot as well. And I think I was mostly just challenged by this idea that God is continually calling me to new things. He's called me to things before, but I'm not done. I don't get to do one thing and be like, okay, God, I did it and done. There's more for me to do, and he's continually calling me to new things. And I was just challenged that he's calling me into deeper relationship with him, into deeper obedience to him, which is really hard sometimes. And I think the two big things out of kind of those broad relationship and deeper obedience is that I need to dig into Scripture more, which is really important and so challenging to make that part of my daily routine. But God's been teaching me that for months. And so, of course, he's going to remind me that, the more I'm in Scripture, the more I know him. And that's the relationship with him is built through knowing what his word says. And too often I forget the value and the importance of what God's word is. It's knowing him. It's a relationship with him. The more I read it, the more I know about who he is. And the other way that I was really challenged during the week is just to seek opportunities to serve in new ways using the gifts that I have. I was really struck on the day that we had a class on social justice, just talking about why God cares about social justice, why he cares about us serving other people, just how I often get stuck in a little Christian bubble, and I don't really know many people who are hurting or who are poor or who don't know God. And I was just really convicted that I need to step outside that bubble, and I need to be serving and sharing the love of God with those people. It's good to have the support system of your Christian family. That's really important. But I was just convicted that I need to make more of an effort to know people beyond that. And so I'm kind of in a place of figuring out what that looks like, still kind of discerning what God's calling me to specifically, but that was kind of where my eyes were opened, and always prayers are appreciated in that process. So something that kept coming to mind while I was over at Kaleo that week is a song called "So Will I" by Hillsong United, and I'm going to play it for you in just a second because I don't know about you guys, but sometimes like music can just explain how you're feeling better than I can explain it. And that song just kept coming to me just as the attitude that I want to have as God calls me and as he continues to show me what he wants for me. I want to have the attitude that this song kind of describes. It's a really, really great song. It's a little bit long, so I hope you guys will bear with the longness, but it's really so good that I don't think you'll even notice. And then after the song plays, Miranda's going to get to come up and share a little bit about her experience and the time that she had at Kaleo.
So before I begin, I just want to thank Gil and the elders for allowing me to get up here and talk about my time at Kaleo. And thank you to everyone who donated to fund Leah and I to attend. I know I come up here a lot and talk about all my adventures that you have sent me on. But this one I'm super excited to share about. So before I get into the main part of my talk today, I want to lay down the structure of our week in Howard. So every morning after breakfast, we had morning worship, which was just we'd sing and stuff, and then we'd have half an hour or so of open worship, and then we had time alone with God, or tag, and that was just time for us to do our devotions. And I really like starting my day out with those two things, like already built into my day, because it just made the rest of the day even better, because I felt that God was just along with me throughout the rest of the day, and I liked having that specific time. So after devotions, we went into our morning classes. Those classes were biblical interpretation, Quaker history, which was my favorite, social justice, Christian leadership, and calling and vocation. And those classes were really intense. A lot of it, the Quaker history part, I really liked that one, just because I kind of already had one taught by Elisa and Rod Ferris when I was like, I don't know, 4th grade. It was a long time ago. But I really liked that. And the biblical interpretation was super interesting because Joe Carson, he's one of the pastors at Star Friends, he is so smart, and like the way that he described the Bible to us and like the evidence that it provides us was really eye-opening for me, and I learned a lot in that class alone. And that was our first class, and like to start the week out with that really intense class was a little bit overwhelming, but I think without starting it by that, it laid our foundation out for the rest of the week. So after class, we went to lunch and then had free time, and at free time, Leah and I went to Awakenings, and that's by my house. We went to Origins. So I liked going there because Leah worked there in college, so it was fun to see that part of her life that I wasn't a part of. After free time, we had a lab on the previous class, and this included either finishing the lecture or doing an activity on the class. So for biblical interpretation, we did hermeneutics over Acts 15, and Leah and I rocked the hermeneutics world, I think. After lab was dinner, and then we had evening worship where we heard different people come and share their calls and the journeys that it led them on. And then we broke out into our hives, which was just small groups, and I really liked that because you got to know the people in your hive even more than everyone else. And then we had a late night activity. My favorite one was the firework that we had. Like, we had a fireworks show in somebody's backyard. It's Kansas, so I guess that's allowed. As you can tell, our days were jam-packed, which I loved because there was absolutely no time to be bored. So it was a great week. But one of my favorite parts wasn't in the schedule, but occurred every day throughout the day, and that was the conversations. Getting to know people that aren't from Idaho is always amazing and eye-opening. I met a girl from Southern California, and we became fast friends by comparing our cities, and she lives in a city outside of LA, so we have not much in common, but and also comparing our schools. She was actually on 2 of our flights back home, and I got to sit next to her, and we enjoyed some Chick-fil-A on the flight. I also bonded with another girl from Hugoton, Kansas. We talked about things ranging from Jane Austen to the latest show on Netflix. I'm still in contact with everyone from Kaleo because it's 2017 and we have group chats on Snapchat. And I really enjoy that because it helps us stay connected outside of the Kaleo environment because we're also connected on our online classes, but it's just different in a good way. But by experiencing all those conversations and learning about everyone was a wonderful reminder that life continues outside of my little corner of the world. So during my 7 days in the small town of Haviland, I built community with youth from around America and even in Bangladesh and Nepal. I don't know if you guys know, but Pratik and Samson Retnaraj were there, and it was a lot of fun meeting them. We worshiped together, ate together, and learned together. And I have many memories with these loving people that I'll cherish for a long time. But building community was only a small part of why God called me to Kaleo. God also called me there to learn and dig deeper in the Lord in my faith through the Word, teachers, mentors, and the other students there. The most important lesson that I learned at Kaleo is that God is not finished with me yet. The Lord has a plan for me. I'm here for a purpose. And I learned this in classes, through open worship, and through the guest speakers during evening worship. A little backstory on why this is a big deal for me is the day before I left for Kansas, I wouldn't technically call it a meltdown, but it was somewhere along those lines. It dawned on me that I'm going into my senior year, and I have no idea what I want to do with my life, where I want to go to college, just that kind of thing. So before I boarded the planes, I kind of suppressed those stressful thoughts, and because I wanted to focus on the week ahead of me and just really pay attention on why God called me there. Once at Kaleo in classes and worship, a common theme was God's plan and calling for us, because Kaleo does mean calling in Greek, if you didn't know. Kaleo helped me come to terms with the idea that, unlike me, God knows where I will go to college. In our morning devotions, we read a different part of Exodus 3:2-12 every day, and now I want to take this time to read it out loud. I forgot my clicker. Will you do that for me? I will be reading it in the New Living Translation, but it's on NIV in the screen. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a blazing fire from the middle of a bush. Moses stared in amazement. Though the bush was engulfed in flames, it didn't burn up. "This is amazing," Moses said to himself. "Why isn't that bush burning up? I must go see it." When the Lord saw Moses coming to take a closer look, God called him from the middle of the bush. "Moses, Moses." "Here I am," Moses replied. "Do not come any closer," the Lord warned. "Take off your sandals, for you are standing on holy ground."
I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." When Moses heard this, he covered his face because he was afraid to look at God. Then the Lord told him, "I have certainly seen the oppression of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cries of distress because of their harsh slave drivers. Yes, I am aware of their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the power of the Egyptians and lead them out of Egypt into their own fertile and spacious land. It is a land flowing with milk and honey, the land where the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites now live. Look, the cry of the people of Israel has reached me, and I have seen how harshly the Egyptians abuse them. Now go, for I am sending you to Pharaoh. You must lead my people out of Egypt." But Moses protested to God, "Who am I to appear before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people out of Egypt?" God answered, "I will be with you, and this is your sign that I am the one who has sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God at this very mountain." Now I want to take the next 5 minutes or so just to sit with these verses and think about how God has called you to something, whether you obeyed or not. So that was basically what I did every morning, only with follow-up questions. But as it happens, we just finished Exodus in Sunday school. So at first, when I looked to see what our devotions were on, I was kind of doubting if anything would stand out to me this time. And spoiler alert, it did. God's funny like that. This time, it made me think about how God has confronted me, communicated with me, instructed me, reassured me, and confirmed the call the Lord has given me. After every devotion, I would talk to God, mainly about the plans the Lord has for me, and how nice it would be if God included me in on those. As I prayed, I was reminded of another verse about calling, 1 Samuel 3:10, "And the Lord came and called as before, 'Samuel, Samuel.' And Samuel replied, 'Speak, your servant is listening.'" The part that spoke to me most, and still does, is "Speak, your servant is listening." At Samuel School, we talked about this verse because it's like our theme verse. We talked about it a lot, but here it had a whole new meaning to me. I translate it now as me waiting obediently and listening for God to reveal my call when the time is right. Not when I want it, but when I'm ready to receive it. Leah and I did some Bible reading at Kaleo, and I chose this verse to be a reminder as my new revelation, and so I can look back on it and keep reminding myself that when the time is right. Another significant part of Kaleo for me was each night during worship, we heard from different people about their calling and the journey it led them on. It related to the topic of the day, so when we had social justice, the speaker was a lady who overcame poverty and now works to help others do the same. Hearing their words was inspiring. It also was interesting hearing from a different call each day. The first night we heard from the president of Barclay. The second night we heard from missionaries from Africa. And just to see how a call is different from every single person and not one call can be the exact same. It was also eye-opening because some people didn't have their calls until later in life. Because like my mother, I am impatient. I want to know my call right now because I just want to get going, Pressures from school, I think, make me feel like I need to know what I'm doing with the rest of my life right now. But at Kaleo, I realized that God already has a plan for me, and He knows what I will do after high school. I don't yet know what that plan is. So in order to follow the plan the Lord has given me, I'm going to do an old school Quaker tradition and form a clearness committee. This committee will help me discern what I will be doing after high school. And before I spend hundreds of dollars on applications to colleges that I'm unsure about attending. I didn't have this plan until the second to last day at Kaleo, but once I gave my future into God's hands, I felt a huge weight be lifted off my shoulders. So Kaleo also helped me grow tremendously in the maturity of my faith. I know that I still have more growing to do, but my experience at Kaleo helped challenge me to grow even more than I would have without attending. In our online classes that we have to complete in the next 10 months, our directors give us challenges each month, and the challenge from July was reading the Bible and praying every day. So for the first week, we read and prayed for a minute, and the next week it was 2 minutes. So right now we're in 5 minutes. I'm not always successful in this, but I think by having the challenge, it's beginning to turn into a habit. To just wake up and reach for my Bible and not my phone will be a major accomplishment, one that I am looking forward to achieving. I also experienced some very convicting things at Kaleo, the most important being during Christian leadership. We talked about the qualities a good Christian leader possesses, one being service. Along with this was the statement, "No service is beneath us." That hit me a lot harder than I thought it would, mainly because I thought I already was a good leader. We're still working on humility. But by going through and identifying the good qualities of a Christian leader, it helped see where I needed to work on, because we went through the list and identified our strengths and weaknesses. And with the help of my mentor from Kaleo, Leah, and my Eli from Samuel School, Elisa, they helped me stay on track in trying to better myself. They hold me accountable. And because I'm so close to them, they can call me out on things, and I don't take it too hard. I don't think I do anyways. But they are helping me be a better leader in the church and outside of the church. By having 2 mentors is amazing. I think everybody needs 2 mentors. They just help me. So this service thing that we learned at Kaleo, to me, it was talking about the little things that we can do in church, whether that being picking up garbage in the parking lot, or I see they need volunteers for Sunday school. That is service. It's like you're not too good for any kind of service. Even Jesus washed people's feet. So it was really convicting for me. There was a lot more, if you have questions. I'm not done with Kaleo. I still have to complete 10 months of classes and do my released project that impacts my church community. So I will be back soon to ask for help. Remember, no service is beneath us. But in all seriousness, Kaleo Academy was a fantastic program, and I think everybody should apply to it. It challenged me, and I'm still learning and growing because of it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask Leah or me. I still have a lot that I did not share about my 7-day journey. So thank you, and I think that video might be ready. I don't know.